Three betrayals that destroy relationships. Interesting article. One of them is not cheating. That's an obvious, so I felt like this was a really, really good article in this day and age and generation. When a lot of people are saying that relationships aren't worth it, or there's a very different viewpoint towards marriage and relationships in general. And so I thought this would be an interesting article to jump into. Infidelity is the betrayal our society focuses on, but it is actually the subtle, unnoticed betrayals that truly ruin relationships. When partners do not choose each other day after day, trust and commitment erode away. Partners may be aware of this disloyalty to each other, but dismiss it because it is not as bad as an affair. Definitely heard other people say these things. I've heard a lot of people say this in regards to their relationships and in their marriages. That it's not like I'm having an affair. That's another way people have said it, but this is false. Anything that violates a committed relationship's contract of mutual trust, respect, and protection can be disastrous. Betrayals are founded on two building blocks: deception, not revealing your true needs to avoid conflict, and a yearning for emotional connection from outside the relationship. So let's go into step one. Here are three betrayals that destroy relationships that aren't cheating. Number one is emotional cheating. So this is a different type of cheating. It's very easy for platonic friends to bond in the trenches of work day after day. Sometimes we call this person a work wife or work husband. I've seen that happen a lot. Even friendships made at the gym or local coffee shops can threaten the bond at home. These affairs can lead to both parties sharing intimate details about each other's lives. That doesn't make it a betrayal. What makes it a betrayal is this: if your partner would be upset by the things you've shared or would be uncomfortable watching the interaction. So it's basically not saying that you can't have friends and you can't have close friends, but it's making sure you understand your significant other's boundaries in the relationship. And I've actually seen couples. I knew of couples that were arguing, and the one person that was basically being blamed for this type of relationship, this is what you would call emotional cheating, was mocking the other person's thoughts and feelings towards their relationships with other people and their boundaries. Now, it's something that they obviously never discussed or came about and talked about in the building blocks of the relationship when they first started getting to know each other. But at the same time, to mock another person's boundaries, they were basically calling them jealous. You're way too jealous. You need to calm down. You're way too jealous. And it's like, no, every person has a right to have a level of uncomfortability, like hey, I'm not comfortable with you having this kind of relationship with other people if you're going to be in a relationship with me. Now that can cross the lines and be way too controlling and way too overbearing at times. And at that point, that's where you have to realize that, hey, this person may not be the right person for me if this is controlling. But there has to be some line, like within reason, of like, hey, if you're going to be committed to me, be committed to me in more ways than just physically, So that's very, very understanding. But I thought this part of it was really good. These are signs that your partner's friendship is not an innocent friendship. Has the friendship been hidden? This is really good. If the person feels like they can't be honest about the friendship, or tell you what's going on, then yeah, I would definitely say there is something there. Now, I've heard of a lot of people saying, well, I didn't tell you about this friendship because I knew you were very jealous, and so I didn't bother telling you because I didn't feel like dealing with it. And that right there shows so many signs of bad things. That should show so many signs of bad things right off the bat, but that is a crazy way to go about it. I mean, you definitely have to, when you go into a relationship with someone, especially if you're going to get married and you're going into marriage, you definitely need to sit down and have a conversation about what are the boundaries, not just with the opposite sex, but obviously the opposite sex, you need to understand, like, what are my boundaries as far as friendships there. My wife and I were very blessed because we were able to have a conversation like that early on when we were dating, like where we draw the line of friendships with other people. And that was, we were able to help build the foundations of trust there. Like, we understand there's a certain line that we don't cross ever, and when we do cross it, there's been a violation, or if we do cross it, there's been a violation of that trust, and it needs to be discussed. And so it's a respectable. It turned out too, we were very blessed because we actually both mutually understood and agreed on what that line was, and we've been able to have that line. Like, I don't have best friends of the opposite sex. I just don't do that. Like, that's just something, that's a line that we understand. Like, I don't hang out with that or do anything. That is just something that we understand is a line, and it goes both ways, and we appreciate each other for it. But if you are in this position where you're hiding a friendship, and you feel like you have to hide a friendship, there's two layers there. The one layer is, does that mean that you got some sus stuff going on? Like, you need to kind of make this pathway straight here. Like, why are you hiding this? Or does it mean that you feel like you have an overbearing person? Like, there's other things you have to address here. Are your questions about the friendship responded with "don't worry" or discouragement? I mean, there's a whole nother thing there. Like, if they're discouraging you for asking, or they're telling you not to worry, anything like that, it leads to other things. If they're discouraging you and there really is nothing there, then it just shows you that, hey, you guys need to have some communication on what this line is for your relationship to work. Otherwise, this is going to be a continual problem. I've seen it be a continual problem in marriages and friendships of people that I know. I've been surprised at where other people's lines are. Like, I've been like, oh man, I would never do that. But once again, everybody to each their own. Like, so, you just got to figure that out between the two of you. Have you asked it to end only to have your partner tell you no? Oh yeah, that would be a problem right there. Have your boundaries been disrespected? Meaning they knew what your boundaries were and they continually engaged in it. Y'all need some counseling at that point. Is the friend the subject of fantasies or comments during troubled times in the relationship? Oh boy. Oh yeah, that's a bad one. So number 2, conditional love. Couples don't feel supported when one partner keeps a foot out of the relationship. They don't feel like their partner has their best interests at heart, or that they have their back. When this happens, it's not uncommon for the betrayed partner to blame a trigger as the real problem, when it's actually the lack of commitment. Yeah, I would definitely say that is definitely something there. This person even gives a kind of an example. As Christina reflects on her first marriage, she knows she began to feel betrayed when her husband stalled on starting a family. At first, she thought he was anxious about becoming a father, but in couples therapy, it became clear that he was hesitant to deepen his commitment to her. Like an anxious lover, she clung on to him with desperation, terrified of losing her marriage, until she realized she never really had one to begin with. Yes, you cannot. Conditional love. You cannot build a true relationship if there are things where it's like you're not willing to fully commit to each other, and be able to actually be supportive of each other. I think one of the strongest things that can happen to couples early on is they have a fight. And because when you have a fight and you have conflict in your relationship, I think there is such a thing as healthy fighting. There is such a thing as healthy conflict. My wife and I have learned to, and we're still working on, we make mistakes all the time, and we remind each other of those mistakes, just to stay away from it. But we try to engage in healthy fighting. There is such a thing as healthy fighting and healthy conflict, where it's like, hey, I'm able to disagree with you. I'm able to communicate that I'm in disagreement with you, but I'm able to do it in a way that doesn't violate you as a person or disrespect you as a person. And but really, you need to get into a fight early on. You need to not obviously not a fisticuffs. You shouldn't be sitting there boxing your spouse, but you actually get into an argument or get into a disagreement and see how that goes. See how it's handled. So that way that's how you actually build on that love, because hey, that other person is not going to walk out on me. I think that's really important. I really like this list so far. The third one, emotional withdrawal. Emotional withdrawal can be something big, like choosing a work meeting over a family funeral, or it can be as small as turning away when your partner needs emotional support. A committed relationship requires both partners to be there for each other through life-altering traumas and everyday nuances. That means celebrating joys and successes with your partner too. Everybody has different ways of expressing themselves in a committed relationship. It is the responsibility of both partners to uncover and disclose these preferences, to understand what the other requires, to feel loved, protected, and supported. I think that is I definitely agree with that. Like, you have to be able to tell each other what it is that you are wanting and desiring. That has been an ongoing conversation in my marriage, 13 years of marriage, and is constantly evolving. I feel like that's something that you just need to communicate with, and you continue to learn each other in ways. And after 13 years, we're still learning each other, like to the point where it's like, wow, I had no idea that when I did XYZ, that made you feel this way. And so, you have to be able to communicate those nuances and learn that as you go. And you're continually learning each other and learning how to be there for each other. And also what not to do that makes each other feel abandoned. I would totally agree with that. And that's something that you have to be willing to do. I feel like that kind of ties into number 2 as well, conditional love. Like, you have to be willing to put in the work, essentially. And there's really no better way to describe it, because it's not really work, but it's a desire to learn each other, because you want the other person to feel loved, supported, and protected, like this person says in the article. You want them to feel those things from you, and that's how the relationship will grow. So you have to learn how to do it, because it's not always just like, hey, I go to work every day, I bring home the bacon, I come home and help you with the kids, so what is it that you're not getting? There's much more. There's a nuance to that. There's a depth there that you have to learn. And if you truly love a person, you'll desire to learn those things. What did you guys think about those 3? I thought that was really good. I really enjoyed that. I really thought that was definitely worth sharing. I thought it was a great article. Let me know what you guys' thoughts and comments are in the comment section below, especially on the emotional cheating one. I'm really interested to hear that. Do you guys think that there is boundaries? Do you think that's a real thing? And what's the line? What is the line that it becomes way overbearing? Like, and for me personally, I would imagine, this is just my thoughts, I could be wrong about this, but I think that is when someone like starts getting upset, overbearing about certain types of relationships, just with, like if your wife has friends or, girls that she hangs out with, and you start getting upset about certain things. Obviously, you don't want them sharing everything, but it's like, hey, they got to have some friends. You can't just be the only friends in the marriage or in the relationship. They got to be able to have some friends outside of that. But that's my thoughts on it. What do you guys think? Let me know in the comment section below. Please like, share, subscribe, all that good stuff, and I will catch you guys on the next one.